Hi, Steve here. Thanks for dropping by and just visiting us as we pop the bonnet, as I'd like to say, on this lay greyhound bot. First thing obviously in the name, lay greyhound bot. We are laying the greyhounds on Betfair, and the countries we can do that on are New Zealand, Australia, Great Britain and Ireland. So if you've already seen our lay horse bot, I'll just tell you briefly what's different in this one, and then you can make a decision if you want to buy it or not. So where this is different from the horse bot is two major things, and that's down the bottom here. If we have a look at trap number, you can now sort, you can delete certain track or box numbers if you don't want them to be involved in your laying. And the other thing is, we've ticked Australia here, so if I go into Australian races here, you'll see now all the different grades of Australian and New Zealand racing that you can use. So you can, if you only want to lay in the lower grade races, then you can just highlight them and leave the others blank. And if we look at the UK races, we can see there's a lot more different grades to choose from in the UK racing, and you can choose what grade you want to bet on and what grade you don't want to by selecting or deselecting. Okay, so if you've seen the horse bot, then that's essentially the only difference between the two. Okay, for those of you that are brand new to our bots, let's start at the beginning, and that is with obviously this one, as I said, is to do the greyhounds, and the countries we give you are New Zealand, Australia, Great Britain, Ireland. South Africa's up there, but there's no greyhound racing covered by Betfair at present as I do this video for South Africa. Okay, so basically what we have, let's start at the top. We have the settings, which is this page here, that you set that up once basically if to the criteria that you want, and you leave that to run. Current bets, we have whatever bets are being made as we go through. Cancel bets, these are bets that haven't been matched. We can see there's that one there. Results, now we can see here this is the results. I'm just experimenting with this at the moment. I'm just using the third favourite and with 3 tabs, and that's going quite well. Even though it's showing a loss there, it's actual fact. In the last day made these are only 10 cents a point, so it's made 40 points overnight betting on Australia and Great Britain greyhounds. Okay, so that's the lay results, and the other one is the log. The logs tells you exactly what the software is doing. So if we scroll down, you can see, you might want to see why wasn't a certain race bet on, and you can see that okay, in this race here, we can see here there's only £35 on the race, and we've got a minimum of 2,000 before the bot will bet. So it shows you all those things there, and it tells you the box number and the distance, etc. So that's the log. So let's go back to the settings, and there's one other thing you can see along the top tab here, all these numbers along here. These are what we call the tabs, and these are individual tabs where the staking is carried out. So at the moment on this bot here, I've got lay 1 is, if I just hop back to lay 1 at the moment, is betting Australia, and it's betting the settings here, which we'll go into shortly. So if we look at the tab, we can see here the lay 1 bets here and the lay 2. So the tabs, which we've got 20 of them, in this case I'm only using the 3. These tabs are what does the staking, and it carries the losses or the profits over to the next bet, etc. So you are asked how many tabs that you want to use. It's up to 20. We suggest in greyhound racing you probably use no more than 5, and at the moment I'm experimenting with 3, which is doing quite well for me. Okay, so if we go back to the settings, so that's the tabs at the top. Now the settings is auto reload. This means every few hours the fields will, the races I say will update. So if there's been a delay in time, etc., or a meeting's cancelled, then the reload allows that to load back in any race or time differences. So lay 1 is obviously reflecting only Australia because we've got Australia ticked here in lay 1. If we go over to lay 2 and look at the lay 2 races here, we can see these are the ones for the UK today coming up. And as we scroll down, you'll find later on there'll be more races added as we go. Okay. Don't worry about the times because that's where my BPS is based. So the bot works out automatically where you are and puts in the race times to match that. So that's the auto reload. Always leave that ticked. Show the market. We don't really need to show the market because if we do show the market, it uses up more of your data in that. You can see here the requests at the moment are like 0.5. It's not drawing much data. But if I click on show the market, and we are coming up to this race here, you can see now the market is showing, but you'll also notice, see now the API request has jumped up to 9.5, so it's 20 times what it normally is. We don't need to be seeing what's happening in the marketplace because the bot does that without having to have this area displayed. So don't worry about having that ticked. In fact, we encourage you to keep it unticked. Software manual, if you click on that, it'll take you to the manual, and then you can read up any questions, find any answers that you need, and also you'll see this video again on that manual. Betfair help is to do with Betfair. If you click on that, that'll take you to Betfair help, so you can look at the help that you need there. Commission, it's on 8 here because some of the greyhound, some of the states with greyhounds here have a commission of 8 in Australia. So I've set it at 8, and you can only set the commission once. So it doesn't matter that the Great Britain or the UK one, sorry, are getting 8% commission. It just means that the bot is actually giving you a bit more profit by doing that. So if you go to Bet Australia, I suggest you set your commission at 8. So that's the top line. Now if we go over here to the individual tabs, we have lay 1, lay 2, lay 3. Now these tabs are completely independent of each other. Okay, so you can set lay 1 whatever parameters you want, then you go to lay 2 and set whatever parameters you want, and lay 3, etc. No need to use the 3 of them if you don't want to. At the present I'm only using lay 1 and lay 2 while I'm been testing this software. And if we just go through it, we can see here I've ticked Australia. So this one's only betting on Australia, and we're betting in the wind market, but that's ticked. Mexican wave is ticked. Now Mexican wave, what that does is it rotates the bets through. If we go to the settings at the top I was telling you about, on Mexican wave, the first bet will go into tab 1, the second will go to tab 2, the third will go to tab 3, etc. When it reaches the end of your enabled tabs, it'll go back to the beginning and start again. If you have Mexican wave unticked, it will only keep betting on tab 1 until, if tab 1 is still occupied, then it will go to tab 2, etc. So we also always suggest you leave Mexican wave ticked so that the bets are rotating through the enabled tabs. In this case I'm betting the third favourite, and then you can put the minimum distance and maximum distance. Now I know that if you're following greyhounds and that, you'll do your own research on tracks and distances and that, so that's where your own local knowledge can come into play and you can set the distances for what suits you. On the minimum and maximum price here, this means the third favourite has to be between $4 or £4 and £10. Okay, so if it's below £4 it won't place the bet. If it's above £10 it won't place the bet. Once again, that's up to your own research to do and put in the prices that you think work best. As an extra filter I've got here the first favourite. So the first favourite, if the first favourite is between 1.5 and 3, then it will start looking for a bet. If however the first favourite is say below 1.5 or above 3, then the bot won't continue to bet on that race. It will bypass the race because that criteria has not been met. Okay, the reason we put that in there, these prices, is we don't want to be betting the third favourite if the first 4 dogs are all at $4 each or £4 each. It means it's a pretty open race. We'd rather have a strong favourite to win the race so that our third favourite will get beat. Minimum matched, I put 2,000, so £2,000, $2,000. It's got to be matched before I have this as 2,000, and because my account is in Australian dollars, it means 2,000 Australian dollars must be matched on that race before the bet will be placed. So if you were looking at mirroring my details here in the UK, you'd probably be looking at around about £1,100 as a minimum match. Profit delta, I haven't got anything in there, but profit delta is the extra profit you want after a losing bet. So if you put 0.1 in there, it would mean after a losing bet, the software would also try and get another 10p profit if you want to. That's totally up to you. Minimum runners, because this is in Australia they have 8 greyhounds in a race, we'll allow 7. At least there must be at least 7 running before our bot will look at the race. Maximum is 25, of course. That really, in Australia, 8 is the maximum they're going to run with anyway. So, okay, and then we come into the stop at a profit is how much target, how much do we want to win per race? And as I'm testing this, I only want to win 10p per race, so I've got 10p, and that's tick. If I win the 10p, it repeats and starts again. So keep these ticked down here. Stop at a profit. Each tab, if you wanted to get to a certain profit, then stop. That's where these ones come in, and you'd have to have this unticked if you wanted to say, look, on tab 1, 2 and tab 3, if they reach $5 or £5 profit, I want the betting to stop. Well, in that case, the 5 would kick in, but you'd have to have it unticked. And all profits for all tabs, if all the tabs added up to 5, and I had that unticked, once again the bot would stop. But we don't want that to happen, we just want the bot to continue betting regardless, so that's why we've got it like that. The next one we've got here is, this controls our staking. Okay, while this is controlling our profits and that, this is controlling our losses down here. So stop loss liability, I've got it set at 6. So if a bet is going to go on and it's going to be more than £6, then it's going to revert back to my default target of 10p. Okay, and it will restart. So if the bet coming up is going to be £7 or $7 and I've got 6 in there, it won't place that bet at the loss recovery. It will just restart the whole series again for that tab at the 10p or whatever you have there as your stop at a profit per race. Stop at a loss staking, we recommend that you keep this low here, and if you've got it marked how I've got it, then the orange box will always override the yellow box. Okay, because with stop loss at staking, if I had 2 there and the dog is at £6, then I stand to lose £10 if I had the staking at 2. So the orange box allows more accurate stop losses for you, so we ask you just to use the settings in the orange box and let the yellow box be lower, a lot lower than the orange box. Okay, but that's explained in the manual. And then of course, as I said earlier, we've got the UK races. So if you're doing a UK, if this tab is to be UK, like it is if I go to tab 2, this is the UK, so all the UK races I've marked. I'm marking everything here because I want to see if there's any patterns of that, so that's why I've got them all marked. But you may only want to do the morning meetings, so you look at doing some of the lower grade dog races in there. And then you also have the boxes. So if obviously in the UK we're only running 6 dogs. We look at Australia, click on Australia, and the boxes, of course, there's 10 greyhounds nominated for every race, but they only race out of 8 boxes, so you've got your choice. You might not want, if the third favourite's in box 1, you don't like box 1 because it's got a winning advantage, then you could have that unticked. But at the moment I'm running all boxes. So once you've set up your tab, you click on start and the bot will start betting to those instructions that you've given it there. And as I said, lay 2, I'm doing the UK, and lay 3 at the moment there's nothing set up. So that is how laybot works, the lay greyhound bot works. Okay, and then we have the results as I said there. you can see here, as I said, this loss here is going from a few experiments that I've been doing earlier on. But since we've been doing this video, we can see there, as I said, £2 on the Australian races chasing 10p a race, and £2.10 on the UK races chasing £10 a race. And that was only within the last 24 hours, so it hasn't been a bad return. And if we look here, we can see here, this is how the staking works. If we look at this row here, I'll just highlight it, we can see we had a loss there, a loss here. So what happens is the next 3 bets, because I'm only using 3 tabs, so we can see here tab 3, tab 1 and tab 2, it's looking at recovering these losses plus our profits. So it's placing higher bets there of 1.14, 1.14, 1.14. We've recovered our 2 losses there for these 2 races in a row where we had 2 losing bets in a row, and now it's reverted back to our 10p, 10p, 10p target. Okay, at one stretch we went quite well, at one stretch here with over 20 winning bets in a row there. So as I said, it's early days for this one. So, but I'm sure if you follow the Greyhounds and like the Greyhounds, you'll have your own theories. If we go to venues here, we can untick. If you wanted to say, look, I'm only going to bet on 2 tracks, then I suggest you need to untick auto reload and then just untick the meetings you don't want, and then it will only bet those meetings. Okay, so for example, here in the UK, if we only wanted to bet say Crayford and Romford, then we would have to untick auto reload, because if you don't untick auto reload in a case like that, it will reload the races again as it updates every hour or half hour. So if you're going to just pick out a couple of meetings that you want to do, untick auto reload. Of course, make sure that the meeting has already been loaded, as Betfair sometimes only loads 4 or 5 hours in advance of the race actually happening. Okay, so I think that gives you an overview on what Lay Horse Bot can do, Lay Greyhound Bot can do. Now I run mine, this is on a VPS based in Liechtenstein. It's a very, I've only had it about a month, but it's very inexpensive, a lot cheaper than Tagadab and that, and it's a lot faster also. So I think, I can't tell you actually how much I pay a year, but I'll put it down below the video. But it's cheap, I pay for a year at a time just by, it's in euros, but what I'm saying is that you can have your bot, I've got this one as I said sitting on that VPS, and it runs 24 hours a day, so I don't have to worry about starting my computer each day for this bot to be working for me. Okay, so on behalf of Michael and myself, Steve, thanks for watching Under the Bonnet for the Greyhound bot, and I hope that you like this effective little bot and can have hours of fun and profit using it. Thank you.